Nick Glade has been producing music festivals all over the world since 1996, including launching Origin in South Africa and Glade and Wilderness in the UK before returning to South Africa to launch his current project. The incredible Bazique Festival is a Cape Town-based festival of art, performance and music. And Nick is passionate about curating creative communities and funding the arts through the vehicle of a festival and creating spaces for people to come together to celebrate and dance. And he's joined me today. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm going to get straight into the questions because I really want to grill you on the festival experience that you've created. Now, you've been a big name in the festival space for the last 26 years. Oh my gosh. How did you get into producing music festivals and why?
It was, definitely because I started attending them and just really loved the space. It's raves as well, really. You know, I'm sort of first generation raver from the early 90s. So raves, and then raves kind of led me into festivals actually. So initially it was just raves, outdoor raves in England and then in Cape Town. And then from there kind of came back to the English festival scene in about 1996. Went to Glastonbury and it blew my mind. And I think what they both got in common, the raves and festivals, is that it's just it's the open-hearted, open-minded, very encouraging collective consciousness that exists in the prevails, and you know, people are kind to one another, they're friendly to strangers. It's kind of like the opposite of, you know, living in some big cities. You know, like you can live next door to somebody in a city for years and never ever meet them, you know, whereas you go to a rave or a festival and you wake up next to somebody in a tent and you're like, all right mate, and you get to know somebody, you know. So I love that. I love the open-heartedness of it. I really feel, and still to this day feel, that humanity is at its best at festivals and at raves. I also love the equality of it, you know, like when you're on a dance floor, everyone's the same. That's what I loved, I think, about, you know, I'm from a council estate in Lincolnshire, so I was sort of, you know, I really loved the fact that raves and festivals just brought people from all walks of life, from all economic backgrounds, and everyone was the same. And anyone that didn't behave that way sort of got vibrated out. You know, it wasn't cool to you know, think you were better than anyone else because of where you were from. So I loved that. I loved the feeling of equality. Amazing. And then also the experience, you know, as you got more into it, the experience of, especially being on dance floors, you know, of collective consciousness, of everybody together as one, listening to the same music, dancing, not talking, you know, like meditating into the music. And it's a very healing experience, you know, to let go of the mind, to not be thinking or worrying about things for hours on end because you're dancing and listening to great music. It's a very healing thing for us to do as humans. It's a really good antidote to the stress of modern living, and you know, we've all got stuff to worry about, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love the picture that you've painted there, Nick, in terms of that whole being on the dance floor, because I really feel like that, you know, when, and especially at your festivals, which we're going to come to in a moment. But so just sort of building on that, I suppose, as well as the festivals that you've already mentioned, you've been instrumental in setting up total solar eclipse festivals, which must have been incredible. And that's been all over the world. Tell us more about these, because I feel like you're already going into that state of mind in terms of how you got into the festival space. But I know that you've said that there's something particularly special about a total solar eclipse festival.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing because I mean, you know, you get there's a total eclipse of the sun sort of on average about once every 2 years somewhere on planet Earth. I mean, it varies, but not all of them are partyable. Some of them happen in the middle of the ocean, and you know, NASA go and view them from boats and stuff. But then they do pass over land masses, and it's actually a very close friend of mine, Simon Makara, that invented eclipse festivals in 1996. He did one in Fateh in India, and he was the first guy to sort of think about the rave experience and to merge it with his passion, which is astronomy, and in particular eclipses. I mean, he's seen something like 30 total eclipses. I think I've seen 5. So he just thought, okay, raves, you know, electronic music, astonishing celestial spectacle. Let's see what happens if you go like that. And it's amazing. It's really, I think one of the reasons they're so special is because they're hard to get to. Generally, they're remote, they're in the middle of nowhere. It's a hardcore traveling experience. Not always, but often. And as a result, the harder a festival is to get to, if you've got to get on like 2 planes and then a bus through the jungle, and then, it means that the type of people that end up there are quite special because they're determined travelers, they're pioneering sort of types. And then the fact that you've got there, and after, maybe after 2 days traveling, you just really you're there to have a good time. You know what I mean? There's no sort of, it's like you've made it that far, you're going to make sure you enjoy it. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're so special. And they vary in size. Sometimes there was one on Easter Island that had about 200 people at it. The one I co-produced in Zambia, I was the African production manager. That was in 2001. That was 3,000. And then the next year there was actually one in South Africa, which I co-produced. It was about the same. But there are much bigger ones as well. They get up to, there's one in Oregon recently, the Symbiotic Festival produced it. It was like 40,000 people, but that was much easier to get to. So, they're just very special gatherings of very interesting people. It's a kind of a secret, really, even though it's 40,000 people, but the Eclipse parties are, because they're one-offs and they're never repeated. So it's just one party that gets set up once for a moment in time, whether it be 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes up to 10 days. But it's not a brand experience. So you have to be sort of plugged into the network of social media to find out about them, I think. So yeah, they're kind of the best kept secret of the rave sort of community.
And I'm noticing this more and more actually, is that there are a lot of festivals that are, you think about a festival event and promoting it and getting as many people there as possible, but there's a lot more festivals that are creating space through that network. So not just having anyone come to it, because having been to a few festivals in the UK, I've had very differing experience in terms of a lot of people just getting drunk and, violent and aggressive. And having experienced the last 2 Bazique festivals, I was blown away, absolutely blown away by the love and the community and the compassion and empathy at both of those events. People just coming and joining our camp when we're sat down because they just wanted to have a chat and get to know us. Aside from trying to keep the riffraff out, how do you create such a beautiful symbiotic environment at your festivals?
Well, I think, to the crowd, first of all, Bazique is now under 20s.
Right.
And so I know what I was like when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? I was a lunatic. So it's kind of like it's the people sort of, their moral compass, something happens to the brain. I think the amygdala joins up to the rest of the brain about the age of 18. And that's the amygdala is the bit that deals with empathy.
Right.
And so not having any teenagers around, and look, I was a teenager, and I've got nothing against teenagers at all, but it does make a difference not having them at a festival for adults, So there's a lot less problems with people drinking too much and everything else, because it's by the time people are 20, they've adulted on the whole. So that's the first thing. And then I think that the music offering, the art offering, what you put on the flyer changes dramatically what you attract. So if you put super commercial names, bands, whatever on the flyer, then you're going to get a super commercial crowd. If you do something that's more left field and curated and intricate and unique and original, then you will attract people that resonate with that. So I think that's in that side of it. That's on the sort of the demand side, if you like. And then the other thing is that, a festival is one big energetic matrix, basically, and it's made up of all the people that are involved in producing it initially, until the ticket holders get there anyway. So, it's choosing the people that are involved in it and building it, curating it, the artistic direction of it. It's finding a family of people that, have got things like empathy and compassion and kindness in their own, front and center of their own beings, and then bringing them together, and then they set the tone for the event, and I think that there's something that, so even the people that maybe do turn up that aren't like that in normal life, they kind of get there and they're like, oh, this event's, everyone's really nice to each other. So then they're nice to each other too. You know, there's a prevailing vibration that people will attune to. And I think that humans do that like very naturally in every situation, you know? And so, so I guess that's how it sort of comes together.
Well, and you could certainly feel that from all of the crew there, you know, with the way that they were chatting and just, you know, enjoying themselves. You know, a lot of festivals we go to and there's people working, they look a bit anxious and stressed, but your team or your family, as you put it, just looked like they were having the best time being there. And maybe that plays into what we won't mention, but the last few years have been very disrupted by, and it's been an uncertain time for the events industry. So I imagine them coming back has been quite exciting. But for you as the creator of such an important and beautiful event, how did it feel for you to come back after the 2-year break and run Bazique again?
It was hectic. But, you know, great. I mean, I absolutely love doing what I do. I mean, I've been doing it for most of my adult life. You know, it's the only career that I've ever had. So, you know, I wouldn't have done it for this long if I didn't love doing it. So for me, although it is a lot of work, it's a lot of time, I don't ever really consider it as work, as in like a job. You know, it's just something that I love doing. So, but this certainly coming out that, you know, with working in an industry that was coming out of a 2-year slumber, you know, like hibernation, certainly had its challenges, you know, because a lot of key staff that had migrated to other industries and stuff. So there was a shortage of trained staff in some areas, but and also we only normally we spend 5 months to pull Bazique together, and we did it in 9 weeks because the curfew only lifted in South Africa on New Year's Eve. So it was quite a ride, you know, pulling it off. And I just think, you know, to thank goodness my lovely wife was patient enough to basically see her husband disappear for 9 weeks, because that's pretty much what it was. I spent 9 weeks in front of a laptop and then sleeping and eating, but it was, I'm delighted with the end result. At the end of the day, that's all that really matters, is what, you know, how was it as an experiential point of view. And I think the feedback we've had has been amazing, and the artistic side of it was incredible. You know, we had 23 different art installations this year, and incredible main stage structure by Karen Dixon, who's one of the world's foremost festival stage architects. So I think it was a cracker. Might have even been our best one yet, actually, weirdly enough, despite its short notice. So I think the community really galvanized behind it. People were excited that it was happening again. So it was just a matter of harnessing that excitement, really. But so it was challenging but rewarding, I'd say.
It was magical, and having it been my second time there, it was my favorite. I know I had more of my friends there with me this time as well, which was amazing, because people are flocking now to come to it. As the creator and mastermind behind the events, you don't actually get to feel it in the same way we do. Obviously, we were there dancing and enjoying the event, and, you know, just lavishing in this amazing environment that you created. What's the best festival that you've ever attended as a punter, and why would that be?
So I think that, you know, obviously it's all, you know, it's a moment in time. You know, it's like, you know, that first flush of discovery of festivals and raves when you're 22 years old or whatever it is super exciting, and some of your best experiences are always going to be then, you know, when you're still the wonder of it all, and the community that you found, you know, the community of people that you found that, you know, you've never found before. You know, like for me, a huge part of what it was, just, you know, I never really felt I fitted in anywhere through school and university, and I did traveling around the world sometimes, you know, but it was only really when I found the festival family that I felt that I was at home. You know, that I found all of my best friends now are all from raves or festivals, you know, and it's a left field community. I think it attracts a lot of people that, you know, have felt that they don't necessarily fit into normal society. So I think that, you know, that initial meeting of that is like an amazing experience, you know, on a personal level. But in terms of the actual festivals, I mean, you know, Glastonbury is incredible still. I mean, my favorites were in the late 90s, before the big fence went up, because they were just so crazy. But still now, the creative matrix of Glastonbury Festival is astonishing. I mean, it's amazing. Like the diversity of creative presentation and the quality of it is mind-blowing. You know, you see Cirque du Soleil quality circus acts, you know, these best comedians in the world, the best bands, the best DJs. It's incredible. There's something like 300,000 people, I think. You know, it's pretty wild. So that's amazing. Burning Man in America is incredible. On a different, Africa Burn in South Africa is also super cool, like a little bite of Burning Man. Boom Festival for me. I mean, I'm an electronic music guy first and foremost. I love lots of different styles of music, but Boom Festival in Portugal for electronic music lovers is incredible as well. So Symbiosis in California, although that may have stopped now, I think, since COVID. But yeah, I think there's some of my faves.
Quite a few on the radar there.
Oh, and Secret Garden Party, of course.
Secret Garden Party, which of course
Secret Garden Party, which we're all going to again this July.
Yeah,
it's back on the map.
Very excited about that, and I really want to go back to Glastonbury. I haven't been since I was a kid, so it's definitely somewhere I should go now. I think it would be so different. And then, so what next then? What does the future hold for Bazique Festival? And also, do you have any plans to develop further festivals?
I think the answer to the second question is no. I think Bazique is my swan song, but you know, I've been doing it for a long time, and I was actually in two minds before I even started Bazique as to whether or not to just kind of, you know, do the plot of land and solar panels and grow some vegetables, you know. So I was halfway there then. So I think by the time I'm done with Bazique, which is going to be many years, I think then that'll be that. But no, I mean, I think I see Bazique growing to sort of 10,000 people over the next 3 or 4 years, and so we can really expand the art budgets. I think a lot more international people are starting to come down now. More people come from Johannesburg, you know, the other big city in South Africa. So I think it's going to grow, and I just want to stay plugged into the community. It's an amazing community of people involved in Bazique in Cape Town. I'm super passionate about all of the people that have magnetized to it, and you know, it's really got its center of gravity now, so it's growing at an exponential rate. The creative offering is growing at an exponential rate. The quality and scale and the imagination of the art installations is improving all the time. And you know, we had great artists getting DJs, musicians, artists getting in touch with us saying they want to play, and for a fraction of their normal fee. So yeah, I think that Bazique, I think we're, you know, year 4, we're just getting started really. So I think, you know, I don't see myself doing anything for at least another 5 or 6 years, and whatever is next, I doubt it will be starting a new festival, because they take quite a lot out of you, you know. And I think that, and Bazique's my favorite one so far. I mean, of all of the things I've been involved in. And Glade was pretty amazing. I mean, that was kind of what put us on the map in the UK, and that was an amazing festival, certainly for the first 4 or 5 years, to be able to produce an event in England and have access to all those artists, you know, all the great legends of techno and house and breakbeat and psytrance. That was fantastic from a musical point of view, because London is such a nexus for it all. But I think from a point of view of the community behind it, the way that it's been put together, you know, we gave little shareholdings to different brand partners and artists, significant artists, you know. There's a group ownership aspect of Bazique, which I'm really proud of. I think that's fantastic. And so I love what underpins it as much as what it's producing. And so I think, yeah, I just want to see it grow and expand, and see more money be poured into the arts down here. You know, we're going to do Bridges for Music has been our chosen charity. It's an amazing school in a township in South Africa that takes students from the townships and gives them scholarships, full bursaries into the music industry, management, whatever aspect of it, whether it's becoming a DJ or becoming a manager or becoming a producer or whatever it might be. It's an amazing project, and so next year we're gonna give them their own stage, which is going to be a really great project. So there'll be a lot of more Africans, township vibes, which will really make Bazique a uniquely South African experience. I mean, it already is, but that will really take it to another level. So, and that's great, because that's, you know, that's money going directly from, you know, people that buy the tickets to places where it's really needed, and encouraging the arts in, you know, in communities that need that to happen. So, yeah, so I think there's a lot of scope for Bazique to continue to be that, you know, patron of the arts, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm very excited to hear that it's going to be around for quite some time yet. I'm going to be blocking off March in my calendar to come over to Cape Town for every year, because it really was beautiful. I think what we're going to do is we'll include the link to the website, but I think probably the best way for people to find out news about that's coming up is probably on your socials. Would that be right?
Yeah, on Facebook, and then there's a newsletter. You know, if you go onto the website, you'll see on the top search bar there's a place where you can sign up for the newsletter. That's probably the best way of doing it, because there are a lot of times when our social media goes very quiet,
right,
whereas newsletters keep people updated. So I think both, you know, Instagram, Facebook, and sign up for the newsletter.
Great. So we're going to include the link to the website so people can sign up for the newsletter there, and to your socials away. And all I would say to people is, if you want to come to the best festival on earth, then make sure you sign up for that newsletter so you don't miss anything. And a huge thank you, Nick, for giving up your time to chat with us. I was super excited to hear about the magic behind it, because I've seen the magic at the front of it, and it's really been beautiful. So thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.